Welcome, everybody. Hello on this Friday. And of course, if you are joining us anywhere on the internet, welcome to Tech Talk Friday. This is, of course, your weekly, bi weekly. We're kind of deciding because now it seems to be weekly back again. Tech Talk for everybody. And this is the show where we will explore the world of tech, whether here in Malaysia or anywhere around the world, try to give you some information, some news, at the same time, educate all of us on certain topics when it comes to technology. So today, wow, I was just backstage with the guest that we had today, and this is going to be a really good conversation, I hope. And we are actually going to be talking about cyber security. How safe is your organization on the internet? How safe are you on the internet? So this is something we're going to explore today with both of our guests. But before we get to that, I've got to let you know that Tech Talk Friday is brought to you by Nicole. Nicole, our learning experience platform for every one of you to start your learning journey. Now, whether you want to learn based on suggestions, you want to learn based on curated learnings, you want to hop onto a live session, you want to interact with experts, Nicole is there for you. So if you want to get your own Nicole subscription right now, go on to nicole.app and get your subscription either for a year or for 3 months. And we have a special promo code for you guys, which is on the scroller down there for nicole.app. I think it's Make a Shift. I kind of missed it just now, but it gives you 5% off whether your 3-month subscription or 1 year subscription. So speaking about Nicole, our first segment for the show is our Nicole pick of the week. And of course, since it's cybersecurity, I wanted to kind of familiarize myself with the topic, though I have to say today is where I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to learn from two people. We have a little Jedi thing going on right now. I'll explain in a short bit, but I went on to Nicole, and we have these pathways or these learning courses, which is called Technology 52. All right, Technology 52, which you see right here. It's got all kinds of technology pathways and learnings, all about 30 to 40 minutes long, that you can jump into, from introducing you to digital transformation, cloud computing, web, mobile, big data, so on and so forth. And there's one right here for cybersecurity as well. So I quickly went to the one which is Introduction to Cybersecurity, and I try to learn some things and try to get some takeaways from that. And I guess the biggest takeaway is understanding what cybersecurity is. And here's what I got out of it. I kind of typed it down so I can read it to you guys properly. Cybersecurity is the body of technology, process, and practice designed to protect computers, networks, and data from attack, damage, unauthorized access, or misuse. It helps us reduce the risk of a successful cyber attack happening against us. It is important to both individuals and organizations. So that is a big takeaway right there for me to understand what cyber security is. Because sometimes we scratch our heads, we hear that, but we don't quite understand the definition of it. Hope that helps you guys kind of frame your mind before we get into the conversation with our guests. And of course, these are some of the things that you can find on Nicole when you get to Nicole, like having the 52 series, which you can jump, whether it's leadership, learning 52 weeks worth of leadership topics to build the strongest foundational leadership you can get before you jump into depth learning. Same thing for technology. We've got our Technology 52, which goes through 52 weeks of learning through key technology and emerging technology subjects to build a foundation so that you can choose what you want to go into depth with. And we have a new one coming real soon called Sales 52, which is going to be a collaboration with the London School of Sales. Now that's going to be 52 weeks of sales, core sales foundational learning, so that you can get your gears going as an expert salesperson. So that's a little bit about cybersecurity, what I learned, and Nicole pick of the week. But right now, we're going to get into the conversation that we're here for. And before we start doing that, a very important thing for everybody is, of course, you are all part of the show. You're all part of the show wherever you are watching us, whether it's on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Make sure that you leave comments. And if you got comments, like say statements, you got a thought about what any one of our guests are saying, we'll bring it up. If you've got questions, I'll take a look at it. If it's relevant to the conversation that's going on, I'll quickly try to get the question across to the guests from you. If not, we'll try to save about 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the show so that we can address your questions. So remember, leave your questions, or even if you have a thought, just put it down in the comments area and we'll bring it up. Okay, so now it's time to bring on our guests. It's time to get into this hot potato topic that we have right now. So our first guest that we're gonna bring on is Dr. G.D. Naidu, who is Vice President of Nodrad, and he's an expert in application risk analysis, defense surveillance security, smart solutions design, and commissioning, as well as software engineering and operations. Hi, Dr. G.D.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I think I learned a new term from him just now. What was the term? Well good? That's the term, right? Well good. Well good. So I'm gonna start using that term. Now, our next guest as well, who's gonna be together in this segment, is Philip Victor of he's a partner and managing director APAC of Welchman Keen, and he brings with him 28 years of experience in the field of information technology and 2 decades specifically in cybersecurity domain. Now, he was telling us about his experience. So this is where that Jedi thing comes in. So Dr. G kind of said this just now, that we've got multiple levels of Jedis here. So we've got the Yoda level Jedi, which is Philip. We've got the Obi-Wan level Jedi, which is Dr. GD. And we've got the guy who's trying to enter into Jedi school, which is me right now here asking questions at the moment in my application form at the moment. So guys, all right, let's get into this conversation. Maybe let's do this. I kind of gave a definition of what cybersecurity is based on what I learned just recently, but maybe I want to ask both of you this question first. Cybersecurity, that term itself, what does it mean to each one of you? So maybe let's start with Dr. GD. What does that term cybersecurity actually mean to you?
That's the word itself, cyber and security.
Cyber and security.
Yeah, pretty much in the open space of network or internet, that you must have security part of it as well. Like you have a house with a lock. In security, you must have the security part. That's it.
Right. So it's the internet house, and you have your lock there.
Exactly.
All right. There you go, short and sweet. Philip, what about you? What does that term cybersecurity mean to you?
I think it's as it says, you want to safeguard your data, your networks, and all that. It's protecting, and it's basically, in a very simple way, is protecting against unauthorized entry or abuse or harm or usage, anything. In cybersecurity, we have this term where we always say it's the protection of 3 very important things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So always remember that. We always say that if it doesn't involve any of those 3, then it's nothing to do with cybersecurity, because everything you're protecting is about the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Short enough.
Great. Short enough. And it gives us a really good idea of it.
The Jedi gives you the best ones.
He just doesn't. No, he doesn't even need the hand. He's like doing it with his mind already. All right. So Dr. GD, I'm going to go with this question to you. So how can companies, we're talking about an organizational context. So how can companies protect sensitive information handled? And this can be information that they are handling, or it's handled and stored by a third party. So how can they go about protecting this sensitive information?
When you say third party, that means it's living out of your house. So what you do is, like when you leave your house, you check your door, you check your gate, you check your window, you check everything. So in the security, the same thing. You do the right due diligence before you hand over to them, because you really need to know, are they following the right policies, procedures? Would they have a mitigation plan in place? Because anything Murphy Law comes in, they're prepared for it. So I think due diligence is quite important. The second is for a third party, because your data is going out, continuous monitoring is absolute essential, so that you know that time to time what's happening with your data. It's carefully managed. The other part is when you have due diligence done, then you do the monitoring. That's why you do your audits, to make sure that you see what is done, what's not done, and where's the gap. Right. And it has to be continuously ongoing. Like I've shared to you behind the door. It's like you don't write a HR policy in year 2000 and say that's a policy till today. It's an ongoing thing. So cybersecurity is something that every minute, every second, it's an evolving situation. So you continuously monitor, you audit, and of course, when you give to a third party, you probably need to what I call review their risk, what kind of risk they have, because the data is in their hand. So you need to do that portion. I think this four should give somebody who's handling a third party data.
Right. And when you speak about policies, this is a little bit of an offshoot question because I had this experience recently as I was working with a client of ours, and they went through a rigorous cybersecurity check on us because they had certain policies they had to follow, and they're a global company. So when it comes to policies, which policies do companies usually defer to? Is it previously like when you go through ISO standards, that kind of thing, and they say, we'll go through the most rigorous one and we'll make that the standard? Or do different companies use different policies based on different countries they're in? How's that?
The answer is two. Simple answer. Okay. One is there are some standards which is already been published.
Right.
So usually companies, they will adopt that policies because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. So basically, you adopt the policy and you manage the policies according to your business.
Right.
The policy could be in a healthcare industry, could be in a hotel industry, could be in a restaurant, and you change accordingly. It's like I used to tell this to some people. When cooking, the ingredients, we give you the same cooking ingredients, but two different person cook gives you two different, but the same ingredients.
Yeah.
So it's adaptability of the policy.
Right.
One of my favorites is Sabnex Oxy. I use that a lot. That's one of my favorite. It's very rigorously done policies. So I use that into a lot of my IT practices. I'm sure there's plenty more out there. Definitely the master Jedi will share a lot more than I do. I give the small part. I say I will do the small part, give him the larger part. So policies are available. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of people have done research. There's a lot of research. The challenge we have in the organization is they always leave the academia aside. If they can bring them forward too, then you will have because they are research side of it. Like me, I enjoy doing research. I look at what are the new policies, how they're done, where it is governed, in which way it's governed, what are the plans they have done, what are the mitigations done. Now I take that, look at the current policy, which is called the commercial policy, look at that, blend it together and say, hey, you know what? For your organization, I think this would be workable because you still need to tailor it to their need. So I said it's adaptability of our policies.
Gotcha. And Philip, I think by the end of the show, if you ever need to hire a marketing person, you can hire Dr. GD. I think he's doing a wonderful job marketing you at this moment. Okay, so I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to you right now, Philip. So big question, I guess, because Dr. GD kind of said that this is a big question for you. So we talked about security, we talked about cybersecurity. So we talked about having that security in the first place. But what is cyber insurance, right? What is cyber insurance and how is it important to organizations to have this cyber insurance in the first place?
Yeah. Thanks. Well, insurance, as you know, it's just like any other insurance, right? You take an insurance like a car insurance. If you meet in an accident, you can claim if it's not your fault, of course. If it's your fault, so you are going to claim from the insurance company, and then it's basically managing risk, right? So over the years, what has happened, because cybersecurity has become such a huge part of our life today, that they started coming up with cyber insurance. So what is the cyber insurance about? It's the same thing. It's just that now it's extending into the cyber portion. So when you talk about cyber insurance, you're talking about that. If you read, one of the biggest things that is happening around the world today is data breach. Okay. Even in Malaysia, we have seen so much of data breach happening. The largest banks in the world have had data breaches, from Citibank to Hong Kong Shanghai Bank to all the big banks have had data breaches. So the question is now that they need to protect themselves as well. They need to recover back the damages and all that. So that's why they came up with something called cyber insurance. So it's basically to mitigate all these effects that is caused by the cybersecurity incidents. But things like, people are, besides data breaches, you're talking about identity thefts, or any kind of cyber attack. So what does the insurance cover? That's the question. Because to answer your second part, how important is it? is to know whether what does it cover, first of all. So it covers things like, when a data breach happens, right, in your organization, you would probably do an investigation to find out how did a data breach happen, and you probably have downtime in your organization because your servers were down. So that is where the cyber insurance comes in. So cyber insurance will cover stuff like this, will cover stuff from stuff like your forensics investigation, your downtime that you have incurred, so how much of loss of business that you have, and all this. What I want to share more interesting is this. In some countries, what they've done is some of these insurance companies, they actually give you incentives. Incentives like, if you have good cybersecurity practices in your organization, for example, you do regular cyber awareness programs in your organization, you prove that before your awareness session, you do a kind of like a small questionnaire and ask them, your employees, to do the question, and then you see, okay, my awareness level now is at 70%. After the awareness session, I see my people now at 95%. So if you can prove that to the insurance companies that are providing cyber insurance, they actually lower your premium for you. Okay, they actually lower your premium for you. So they are saying that, okay, because you have actually taken steps. And the second one would be also what you were asking GD just now about the standards, right? International standards. So one of the most common standards being used around the world is the ISO 27001. So the 27001 basically tells you what are the controls you need to put in your organization. It's one of the best standards to use. So if you, for example, if you are certified ISO 27001, pop, your premium goes even more lower. You get it? Because you have put in all the controls. So if we have this kind of incentives, so it also pushes an organization not to just say that, don't worry, we have insurance. When you have I have insurance. I have friends in this country who says, "Oh, I haven't claimed my windscreen insurance for the last 10 years. Let's just go and smash the glass and get a new glass." So it doesn't drive you to do protection, but so you need to have those kind of things as well. So cyber insurance is important because attacks are happening everywhere, rampantly, and you need to cover the cost of your downtime. You need to cover the cost of your investigations or your data loss or whatever that is going to happen. I would say it is important to have cyber insurance, but it's also important if insurance companies can give incentives so that it pushes the companies to actually put those kind of measures in place. And I think that's more important. Yeah.
Right. I don't know, when you were talking about that example, I was thinking in Malaysia, the car insurance NCB that you get. So that's an incentive, right? You don't damage your car, we reduce your premium.
Exactly.
So on that topic of like more threats nowadays, we also got a question from Eva Lim, who came out as well, and this links to the question I want to ask both of you guys at this point in time. Eva kind of says there's a recent outage from UK Tesco's website, and the app has caused many customers to struggle to shop for groceries. But bigger than that, I think we were talking about the attack that happened on MGM and also Experian, which Dr. GD, you were talking about. So I guess the question, let me start with Philip first. How can organizations stay current on the cyber threat landscape? How can they know, like, okay, these are potential threats that we're going to have, and maybe have a mitigation efforts for those kind of things?
Okay. Actually, there are many different ways you can stay current. There are a lot of, for countries, number one, your local source would be your local computer emergency response team. In Malaysia, we have the National CERT here, which is run by Cybersecurity Malaysia. You can go to their website. They provide regular updates. And if you are in an organization, your IT person should know how to access this information. Okay, I will say this. It's very important to have somebody in your organization who's aware of all these things. I was looking at LinkedIn once many years ago, where there was a huge attack, and this guy, he was criticizing this attack, and he was blaming Microsoft. Okay, you say, oh, Microsoft was so bad that, you see, the vulnerability was exploited and our organizations got hit. And this guy is so, his title is IT manager. Okay, he was the IT manager. And after that, everybody whacked him upside down because that patch for that vulnerability came out 6 months ago,
Right.
6 months before the attack. So he did not patch his system. He was not aware of that patch that Microsoft had released 6 months prior to that. So you see, you need to stay current. You need to have the right people. Information is out there. Your computer emergency response team is one place. There are vulnerability database online, which is available there, where it gives you all the latest information. So you need to subscribe to. There are a lot of free feeds that you can subscribe to. Okay, there are a lot of free feeds that you can subscribe to. You need to subscribe to these kind of things. National vulnerability databases. Then there's CERT teams around the world. They have regional certs. Then they have like in Asia Pacific, we have Asia Pacific cert. At the global level, you have the FIRST, which is the Forum of Incident Response Security Teams.
Okay.
They also provide all this information online and very current. So to say how can they stay current, there are a lot of avenues to stay current. So you need to, if you are a IT security person, better don't call yourself IT security until you know where to go and find the current information, because if you're an IT security person, you should know where to go and find. But it's important that I think this question arises because a lot of organizations do not have an IT security person, and so I think in today's world, we live in IT security cybersecurity is a part of our daily life, and you can't run away from it. I think they are becoming more and more important. That's why you pull out those functions. You notice that cybersecurity is not part of an IT function anymore in organizations. Okay, it's a separate function. You cannot mix the same function. We don't recommend that because IT is IT, cybersecurity is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity actually governs IT. So it has. That's why a lot of organizations, they put it out as same level as the high top level management people. The head of cybersecurity must be at that level because you're setting policies. You're setting organizational level policies. You're setting what the organization must follow. You are driving the strategy of the organization for the cybersecurity part. So it has to be at that level. So there's so many. There's another one called Security Focus. They have feeds. Security Focus have feeds where they feed you with this kind of information. Your local certs have it. So there are many places you can get this kind of information from. Yeah, maybe
Right.
GDS, other places you want to also.
Let me see what the content you get. I think what Philip said is quite true. But like myself, when I sit with clients, I'll give the security guy a little bit more extra. I say, do research. Research is where you see a lot of new things.
Right.
I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of. I'm connected to a lot of universities, and I look at some of the research. Sometimes it's quite interesting what they're doing, and you take those research and put it into the new what's happening. It makes a lot of information. I'm not too sure you guys know about cloud jacking.
Nope.
3 years.
I told you I'm applying into the school right now. So
So I didn't know. I was talking to a guy. Like me, I have a WhatsApp group that has approximately about 127 solution architect and security guy worldwide. Like we share a lot of information, and that's how I get myself and say what's happening here. Like I'm sure Victor has, he goes on to, emails and feeds and so. So like me, what's happening in Brazil? There's an issue in Brazil. What's happening in Ukraine? What's happening in Spain? So these guys, they keep the news going, and that's how I take it and I do it as a study case. What happened if this happened in my organization? What should I do?
Right.
What should I need to understand? And how do I need to create, like, one of the point that Victor said, how do I educate? My bad. how do I educate my employees or staff and colleagues. So that's how it is.
Right.
So I think research is good. I mean, feeds, news, conferences. Now there are plenty of good security conferences are coming up. Spend some time. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
You just need
Right.
to put the effort for it.
And do you think like universities especially, this is a hotbed for people to do these kind of I think the word came out from people trying to hack systems as well as an activity to learn what potentially can happen. Hackathons per se. So you get into situations where people are hacking because I'm in my new mind here. I'm thinking software is something that evolves. Everyone's going to create a different software, different coding as it evolves. Different coding standards are going to come up. This also means very different security risks are going to come up as well. So it's ever evolving. And that also means that I think what you both suggested, keeping yourself on the pulse of either through resources or either through research will allow you to even find out what you haven't yet discovered or haven't yet thought about and what you can prepare for. I think that's a really good suggestion right there, and thank you for that. Now, Dr. GD, I'm going to come to you with this question. So, resource allocation. I'm thinking resource allocation. What kind of resource allocation is this going to be? So what are some guides to this? All right. What are some guides to appropriate resource allocation when we're talking about cybersecurity? And how can organizations identify if they are spending enough on resources or if they are overspending?
Good question. The Jedi should answer this because they got big pocket. I got small pocket, so it's very tough. Anyway, if you look at it, resources starts from your management. Anything starts like Philip would say, it starts from the top, the governance part. And who's your governance people? It's your IT manager and your stakeholder. Starts from there. And half of the time when I go and do certain investigations and forensics or certain security job, the CEO doesn't sit in the meeting. He said, "No, talk to my CTO." But it's important for the CEO to sit to understand because he's running the business. You need to sit and understand. Even it's 5-10 minutes, at least he sits and listen. Oh, okay, I understood what's happening. Then you bring it down to the next level, which is your CTO, which is the expertise level. Now he goes down to the below the tree, which is his expertise, which is his own team that manages. Hire the right expertise. I mean, it is sad to see that some CTOs we have from operation going to CTO and they're very vendor centric. That's even more challenging. I'm sad to say it, but that's happening. It comes from operations, suddenly sitting as a CTO. But the role of an information security guy, it's beyond than that. Like what Philip said, it's above of everything. You're basically the main key to the entire office. So the right expertise is important. And the other one is, I would say, tools. Nowadays, tools are very essential. If you want to do certain exercise, certain monitoring, tools are essential. So spending the right tool. You can talk to tools like Wiresharks and Jack and Abel. Security guys they use like Scully's and so forth. Use those. Those are the tools that are able to enhance your work. Because at the end of the day, when you don't have the right tool, so much of work given to you, you just get burned out easily. So these tools are quite essential. The other thing is when you go into security, of course, tools and expertise cost you financial. So you need to have the financial to spend to. A 50-seater office to a 5,000-seat office, two different business by itself. So you know how much to spend here and how much to spend there. And some I've seen a company that actually they run on 100 staff, but when I went and do an audit, the machine they have spent it's equivalent to a bank. And say, no, I want the best of the best. Okay. What is needed for the business is what you put. I always share this to some of my juniors. Your best item supported with something middle. If your outer is best, something normal should be in the middle. So it complements each other very well. You cannot have the best of everything. I've seen, even today, I had a meeting with some people. I said, how good is this? I said, 98%. What happened to the 2%? It's me. I could put the wrong thumb drive and download a virus. So I think that's always an error. So coming from the management level, then you go down to the expertise, your CTOs and the expertise. Then you go down to the tool level. Then you go to the financial level. And last, Cybersecurity is about time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people say, oh, I have all the time. Your time starts now.
Right.
Cybersecurity is not for CTO. Cybersecurity is for everybody, not for the
Right.
CTO. So everybody has to be vigilant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you become a vigilant, you don't need extra resources to look for you, because all of you taking part in that exercise. So
Right.
all of you vigilant. So if any exercise gets into a risk factor, then you go out. Some company they're able to spend, some they can't. So some company they say, "Oh, I got no resources, I don't know." But if everybody becomes a eye for the company,
Mm-hmm.
it's a teamwork. So in that
Right.
way, you're able to see the up and down. Do you really need or you don't need? It's ended within your team. The awareness,
Right.
like Philip, again, go back to the Philip. It's awareness that you give to them.
Right.
That will help you to manage your resources that you require for the company.
Right. 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 That's that's interesting. The last point that you just mentioned there, that it's a team effort. I think we all fail to think about it in that manner. We all think of like, okay, we got a cybersecurity guy there, he'll handle it. Or
Exactly.
we got a cybersecurity team there, we'll handle
Anything
it.
problem, first person, 019,
Yeah.
Philip, can you come to my office? I got problem. I said,
Yes.
you have to do start from your side. So that's where
Right.
the resource planning comes in. Because when that happens, you know if your team has the right people and the tool. So that's how you plan. And this is where Philip comes in and say, hey guys, you know what? I think you have some issues. I think you need to get this one tool and this additional tool. That's when his expertise comes in. So you will juggle your tools and resources accordingly.
Okay. Okay. Now, speaking of that, because this is people being aware of threats, cybersecurity threats. This is the boogeyman question that I gotta come to. Everyone loves this question, of course. What are the biggest cybersecurity threats right now?
I will tell you straight the answer. Ask the Jedi.
Oh, you just passed it the baton. No, 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 no. I'm not gonna leave you off the bat on this one. You gotta answer at least one. What do you think is the biggest cybersecurity threat right now?
I think
Before I go to the Master
the
Jedi.
seafood. Okay, the seafood will have much more deeper. I think the new ones which really scares me is deepfake.
Deep fake, right? Deep
That's
fake. Could you explain that a little bit? I know a little bit of what that is, but what is deep fake?
good. For example, you can take. I'll give you a simple example. You know, like when people talk, I always tell them, be careful flushing your thumb. You know,
Okay, right,
because why? This is an incident, and I'll share you like an incident.
right.
If let's say that the opposite guy has to be a crazy dude, he keeps a good camera. What he does is he takes in your fingerprint, expose, he takes in, change, and he can use for any other reasons.
Oh,
That's one. Number two, you know, this ongoing thing is like, you know, a facial swap. You know, this app called
yeah,
facial
yeah,
swap.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and sometimes
Correct.
like, oh, is it the right person? Now the incident's becoming even worse because why? This kind of application causes even more issues because the message could be the right message, but the person delivering could be wrong, or the person who's delivering a message could be right, and the message could be wrong. So this is quite scary. I mean, no doubt there are other types of threat like credential theft. Credential theft is quite common. You know, like everybody does this. The other biggest threat is actually internal threat, which is incomplete post attack investigation. When they have attack, they forget to do a post investigation, and this is very vulnerable. And I've seen few people who has that. And the other one, which I've learned 3 years ago, and which is slowly crawling into the market, is called cloud jacking.
Cloud jacking, right?
So I'm going to leave this part to the audience to go and do a Google search and do some enjoy research section. So go and
Okay,
look out for cloud jacking.
Audience, everyone who's listening right now, you got homework. Go find out what cloud jacking is all about. All right, Philip, what about you? What do you think are the biggest cybersecurity threats right now?
Well, the threats actually, if you look at it, the threats itself has not changed over the many years. What has changed is actually the complexity of the threats, the kind of sophistication of the threats have changed. If you look at the threats, because when you say threats, right, it's how the attackers use to actually exploit your system. After they've exploited your system, then that's where they do the other things that follows on to it. So, for example, if you talk about malware has been there since the 80s. Virus has been there. The difference between then and now is the complexity of the virus, the kind of damages that it does, and the kinds of sophistication. They are trying to create viruses that mimic softwares that cannot be detected. They're trying to do that. The biggest things that is happening is malware, data breaches, phishing. Mobile malwares are on the rise because everybody's on the mobile phone. Ransomware is huge today because of the money that is involved with it. So, using all these things that you see, we see that people are doing it. That what has changed besides the sophistication, the complexity, it's also the reason behind all this have changed. In 20 years ago or 15 years ago, criminals were doing this for popularity. Everybody wanted to be the person. Oh, I hacked the FBI. Oh, I'm the guy who hacked, that company, Citibank. Today, no more. Today, it's about money. Okay, people are selling their services, and that's scary. That's one of the biggest threats. Nation-state attacks. Countries are attacking countries through cyber. They are hiring criminals for hire. These are all very scary things. They are hijacking critical infrastructures in countries. What happened in 2007 in Estonia, where the DDoS attack paralyzed the entire country of Estonia, it's soon to be happening in now 14 years later. It's going to happen again because their hackers are already doing it. During the pandemic, they have found a new term, the new norm, the new reality. What does that mean? It means that we are now facing a new challenge. More people are working from home. That's the new reality. Because of new reality of working from home, we are faced with new threats where people are trying to attack those people working from home. But the methods being used, so I'm just trying to give the audience a picture to differentiate. I use malware to attack you, right? To penetrate your system, I use the malware. But what I do after that is a different thing. Okay.
Right.
Once I'm in your system, I do stealing of data. Then it happens data breach. Okay. But how did the data breach happen? It happened because there was a malware in your computer. I plant a keylogger in your system where I can basically take every keystroke that you're typing. Why do I do that? So I can steal data from you in a very passive way. Okay, so we need to differentiate between the methods used and the consequences of the attack, of what actually happens after that. So the methods used are the same. Okay, it's still using malwares to come in, social engineering. Today, you can pick up the phone. Malaysians are so friendly. You just say, "Hello, I'm calling from Astro. I just want to tell you that we are having this. But before I give you this new promotion, this 70% exclusive discount, I would like to ask you, can you confirm what is your account number? What is your email address? What is your identity number?" And Malaysians will happily give it out because 70% discount is coming. And it's not only Malaysia, I think it happens anywhere in the world. So social engineering is the easiest way to steal data, to get information. So we need to be very careful. The threats are real. The threats are becoming more and more very hard to detect. And that's what you need to be careful about. 15 years ago, you can detect a spam email. Today, you want to look at the email that comes in, it looks so real. Okay, and that is why companies do phishing simulation for their staff. They run phishing simulations to teach them how to detect this kind. So I know time is we're running out of time, so I'm going to but those are the things I want to talk about. So we are looking at things like ransomware, phishing, mobile malware, data breaches that's happening because of all these things. These are all the things that is happening. Of course, GD mentioned this now. Insider threats is one type of attack that's going to happen. We need to be careful about is insider threats. But how do insider threats happen? They are using, how they steal data. They will plant something inside. They will do this. So that's why, coming back again, implementation of the right controls is very important to detect all these things. Yeah.
Right. And on that note, that's the next question I want to kind of ask you here. And this is, you already mentioned it's your bread and butter. I'm not even going to ask the first part. I'm not going to ask the first part of this question, whether it is important or should employees be trained in cybersecurity. I think it's already given that they have to in some form or another. But what is the appropriate training? Because we've been mentioning a few things like controls, systems, processes, hardware. So what kind of training is important to employees?
I think that there are two groups of people here, and the points that I put here is that GD mentioned one of the things earlier where he says security is everyone's responsibility, which I would like to reiterate. Security is no more a function of just a group of people. It is everyone. If everyone do not understand security, then the risk becomes very high. Always remember that. So you want to minimize your risk. So you have to ask yourself this question: as an organization, how do I minimize my risk? If I want to minimize my risk, I have to train my people. I have to educate my people. So everyone in that organization must go through the basic thing, which is a security awareness training program, at least the minimum. Everybody has to do that. Then your other people will depend on what you are doing, your needs are. What we do is normally we run through something called a training needs analysis. So training needs analysis is to find out, because the problem is, it's actually the same question you were asking GD just now. How much should I spend? Am I spending enough? How much you spend, nobody has infinite number of resources or money. Similarly, you need to do your risk management. When you have done your risk management, actually that's my key message for today. Even though we have not yet finished, my key message is risk management. When you know your risk, you know what to protect against. Always remember that. You don't do your risk management, you don't know how to prioritize your risk. Because upon doing your risk management, you are able to identify which risk I can absorb, which risk I need to implement controls, which, you don't want to go waste your money on a $10,000 security camera on a room that is storing non-confidential information. You understand not? You go and say, let's put biometric throughout the organization. Why waste that money? Put it in you put a multi-factor authentication in a very critical confidential. You don't go you don't need biometrics multi-factor authentication in the toilets. You don't need multi-factor authentication in your pantries. You know what I'm saying? So you need to do your risk assessment. When you do your risk assessment, similarly, you need to do your training needs analysis. You need to identify what skills do I have and what skills do I need. When I know my gaps, I know what to train my people on. This is talking about the technical people. As far as the organization is concerned, you must do your security awareness training for all. And all means CEO onwards. And there's no two ways about it. CEO doesn't get to say that it's okay if I don't follow. No such thing. You don't follow, it just cascades down to everybody doesn't follow. So that is the most important thing. Get the security awareness for everybody. Then identify your training needs analysis for your technical people. Ask them what skills you have, what skills you need. This is based on your risk assessment process. So I can go deeper, but I think we'll stop.
I'll add in one more. I'll add in one more. I was doing a risk analysis for a company. So the first person I asked was the receptionist. I said, if you have a problem, what you will do if this problem comes to you? She said, I'll call the IT person. The answer is wrong. Like what Philip said, top to the bottom, that's including your receptionist. Because your first defense of line is your receptionist. If she fails, you can say bye-bye to anybody. Because the minute she doesn't understand, I was asking her, if this happened, I just call the IT. No, that couldn't be the issue. But it's everybody. It's a huge committee effort. So even your receptionist, you got to train the vendors of security. That's
Right.
how it is. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. I think we've had a good conversation so far. There was supposed to be one last question here, but I think that question, maybe it's a quick, I'll call this out as a quick question. Quickly, I know I'm predicting the answer I'm going to get, but quickly, how often do you think organizations should test their cybersecurity or do their cybersecurity incident response plan?
I can tell you, I don't have enough data. The Yoda has more data than I do.
Well, in a short, good minimum twice a year, effective quarterly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, effective is quarterly. I think Bank Negara, I think in Malaysia, the central bank has a minimum for the banks to do penetration testing, pen tests for their organization at least twice a year. So twice a year is minimum. Why I say quarterly is because of the frequency of attacks that's happening, that we are facing today. Because of the frequency of attacks, the impact, which is so great, that it is recommended nowadays to do at least on a quarterly basis.
Right,
so you want, that's another way for you to stay current and to know that, because today, that's how today we have this term called 0-day attacks. You see, 15 years ago, when an attack is launched, you can take your time and slowly, after a couple of months, it reaches here, then you got all the time in the world. Today, we don't have time. We are talking about 0-day attacks. So 0-day attacks means you don't have time, which means that you need to be current. You need to be up to date. So every 3 months is the ideal way to do it. Again, to be fair, depends on your criticality of your organization. If you belong to a critical sector, my advice personally, quarterly. If critical sectors meaning banks, governments and all that, telecommunications, oil and gas, everything will fall there. But I mean, of course, if you're a small SME and all that, you just want to be prepared. You can do on a half yearly basis. That's fine, But don't forget something. I don't want to say that you can do, but if you can do more, is better, because SME makes up a bulk of our GDP in the country. So don't forget that it makes up the bulk of any GDP in any country, SMEs. So if all of them say, never mind, we are SME only, then, if this SME goes down, the GDP is affected a lot. Yeah. So,
and I think also most SMEs are going into a lot more digital-based business. So I think it's something you can do. So twice a year minimum or quarterly at best.
No, if you ask me, that's nice. But like when you leave your house, you will check your car key, you check your handphone, you check your wallet, your purse. Do the same for cybersecurity. Then you're safe.
All right.
When you leave your house, you check everything, lights, everything. Do the same into the cybersecurity world. Then you're safe.
Okay.
Simple.
Gotcha. So thank you both, gentlemen, for the wonderful session. I've learned a lot. Now I think I can apply to the school already. I'm good at that. There were some questions that came up during while we were talking, but actually you both answered the questions as we moved along. And I think Shashi, our producer, kind of reminded me where I actually heard deepfake. It was actually, I was watching the movie that came out on Netflix just recently, which is... Yes, Red Notice. Yes. Red Notice, which came out, and then I remember them talking about deepfake. That's where I heard about it, and Shashi immediately sent me a photo of it. So Shashi, I actually shared it. Could you just bring it up? Could you just bring up the photo? And there you go.
Exactly. There you go.
There you go. So original.
Just to share with you, I have a friend in US. He can create a model. Getting models is tough nowadays. They are very expensive. He can create a model based on your requirement. And that model never exists in the world.
Wow.
Okay. So
I want to share one very quick one. Many. This is very long time ago. But imagine, even 10 years ago, this hacker did this. He watched on TV this politicians, right? From this lady, I think this minister is from Germany. He captured the picture of her on TV. He managed to copy her prints out of from the TV,
Exactly.
and he used that print to hack.
Yep.
He used. So you see the kinds of things we're facing today, and technology is good, but every new technology comes with all these consequences. We all want high definition TV. High definition TV comes with even greater consequences. Don't show your palm, please, on TV. It's like you just do this, and somebody can this thing. Somebody could capture your photo right now and use it to actually for facial recognition, because we are living in a so high technology. So that's the consequences. That's why we need to have those controls in place, because the technology is good, but sometimes you need to cool and stay down. You need to slow down a little bit. I wouldn't want my refrigerator to talk back to me. I don't want. I can have the old refrigerator. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need a refrigerator that is connected to the internet. I don't need. It's okay. I'm pretty much able to open it myself. I don't need to sit down in the chair and say, "Hey Siri, open the shit," or "Hey Alexa," or whatever. Google, on my. I've seen my friends doing it. He sits on his chair. He says, "Switch on the lights. On this, that." Tomorrow somebody's going to shout there, and your whole house is going to go darkness, and they're going to rob you. Yeah. So just be. We need to be aware. That's all.
Yeah.
A master jeweler once said this: the problem with many people is they are not aware. When you're not aware, you don't know what to do. So, like what GT said is now, you go out of your house, you think about, okay, what must I do? Same thing. That is why risk assessment is important. Know your enemy, you know what to do. Exactly. Know what you're facing, you know what to do. That's the key thing in cybersecurity. Yeah.
All right. I think we can. That's the strongest message we can end with. I think Dr. GD, you're right. It's he is the Yoda level, so he's punctuating message there first.
Don't go against it. Don't just go against it. Get it.
All right. Thank you so much, both gentlemen. Thank you so much. And Philip, we're gonna let you go because you got a vacation to go towards. Thank you so much for taking time actually spending time with us.
My pleasure. I always love sharing these kind of things. Always, no problem.
Right. And Dr. GD, thank you so much for your insights as well. I like how you kind of break it down into the most simplest things to think about. I think that's the best way we can also start thinking about cybersecurity as well. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us during this show. Hope you learned quite a bit about cybersecurity. If you want to watch back the show, please do. I think it's worth that. It's worth re-listening whatever both Dr. GD and also Philip shared. And with that, I want to say thank you, everybody. It's Friday. It's going into the weekend. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We will see you real soon on the next Tech Talk Friday. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye.